Today's show is brought to you by kegconnection.com. Purchase all of your homebrewing supplies and draft beer equipment with everyday low pricing and everyday flat rate shipping at kegconnection.com. Let the brand new True to Style recipe kit a delicious German Weissbier. It, along with every other True to Style recipe, is currently on sale for a limited time at kegconnection.com. Go to kegconnection.com right now, use the promo code HHH, and you'll receive 5% off your order.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Hey, welcome to the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, visit homebrewhappyhour.com and click on the submit a question link at the top of the page, or now you can call or text them in by using 325-305-6107. You'd think I wouldn't have to say this either, but text messages, we prefer them to just be text. You don't have to send us photos. I've had some awkward photos come through, and as much as I love you guys and our audience, I'm married happily. But anyway, joining me for today's episode is the Director of Operations at CMBecker.com, Mr. James Carlson, as well as the President and Chief Keg Washer at Kegconnection.com, Mr. Todd Burns. Gentlemen, how are y'all doing today?
Good.
And I forget, too, people who are watching the video are like, why didn't it change videos? Because the stupid music piping through keeps Google Hangouts thinking that I'm talking, so I'm just going to shut the music off. I want to address.
So should I say that I'm good again now?
No, there you go. Now it's switched. And James too. Yeah.
I'm good again.
I'm good again. Perfect. Thank you guys for reestablishing that. I just got, like I said, I just have to do more hard stops. So we don't need the music to keep playing, because I think people would rather see your beautiful faces, and even the audio listeners probably get tired of the music. That's like in the top 30 complaints about our show, and that's a whole other episode to do the top 30 complaints. Actually, the top 5 complaints would be a lot of fun. Most of them revolve around me and my awful attempts at humor, which is a great segue for, did you guys see what we published on Monday for April Fools? I had ideas about a month ago that I ran by you guys, and y'all were both like, yes, we're on board. And then the stuff happened, medical stuff, family issues. We were out, busyness, whatever. And I still wanted to get something out for us. So I published this special episode, and I just want to apologize for what I did. People had fun with it, but the people who didn't like it, they let me know. And was
it the luchador?
Yeah, I think it was. It was Mean Machine Randy Green. It was him.
I actually have a friend named Randy Green. So
do you really?
Yeah, I do.
I just needed something that rhymed with Randy or with Mean Machine. And Randy, one of my favorite wrestlers growing up was Macho Man. And so I was like, something has to rhyme with green. And I wanted to use Randy because that's so wrestling sounding. That's like good old boy. That's American. Randy's an American name. I don't know Randy's from any other country in the world. But I
thought it was creative. I liked it.
Thank you. And actually, funny enough, the positive feedback I got from that was that they would love us to do more produced ad bumpers like that. So maybe in the future, when I have time and I'm not slaving away for the man, I can produce some more better produced ad bumpers. But the ASMR one, I got a lot of people asking, what is that? I guess maybe I'm that weirdo, or I'm close enough to millennial, or I think I am a millennial, that ASMR might be my generation thing. And a lot of our audience, it varies across the board, but a lot of people who write in tend to be in an older demographic, like 45 plus. And that's not old, just older than people who know what ASMR is. And now people listening who didn't watch the video are going to Google ASMR and think I'm a total weirdo. Not into the stuff. I was just parodying it because I thought it's a pretty big internet phenomenon until you realize some people who don't know what it is at all. And they're like, I don't get it, Josh. What was the point of that?
I actually have no idea
what I have no idea. I don't think anybody knows what you're talking about.
See,
again.
Y'all are the demographic I'm referring to. That might be you guys. Yeah, there are people who make a living making those types of videos. They get millions and millions of views. And it was somewhere, I wasn't even drinking, but I still found it funny in my head. But yeah, we will never do that again. And I promise you, I had much better ideas that was going to include all three of us. And we just couldn't, we couldn't produce it this year. And if I were to produce it now, it would look goofy because it's not, April's come and gone, April 1st, that is. But yeah, but anyway.
We'll do it anyway.
Oh yeah. Well, of course. Yeah, we do whatever we want. It's our show.
There you go.
But I hope y'all have had a good week so far. I am excited to get this episode recorded. First, I also want to talk about Homebrew Con coming up. I'd like to do that reminder. Pardon me. Registration opened up a couple weeks ago. There are still tickets available. If you're going to be in Providence, Rhode Island, the end of June, please come join us. We don't have a booth number assigned to us yet. As soon as we do, you will know we will. You'll know our number, rather, because we'll announce it here. But James, I think we have... I haven't had you on in a couple of weeks. I believe we have a firm list of what beers we're taking, don't we?
Yep, we're gonna do. I've already done the alt beer, and that is actually in the conical right now. So it'll be cold crashing probably tomorrow, and I'll have to check the gravity and see because it was slow to get there. And then I think you guys, we all agreed we would also do another Kolsch. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Since we do one every 2 weeks anyway, to keep up with our drinking demand.
Yeah. In fact, I just kegged Todd a keg of Kolsch. So.
And Todd appreciates that. Todd's a little tired. Todd brewed 2 really, really strong recipes for the Christmas winter season, and I brewed a lot of it. And a 5-gallon keg, when you have 5 gallons of Kolsch, it seems like it goes really quick.
It does.
But when you've got 5 gallons of 8.5% winter warmer beer, and I have 10 gallons of that and 10 gallons of another beer that was about 8% alcohol, hopefully that goes a little slower. It has gone a little slower.
I haven't visited in a while. We'll see.
Well, I actually still have the red beer I did back in November on tap at home.
Yeah,
and it's 7%. So
we've gone through about 6 other kegs besides those. They continue to sit there on my kegerator. I keep going through other beers because it's just too strong. I mean, I'll have one, at night, but you can't have 2 or 3 or you're just kersnonkered. So
yeah.
I like that you use the word Kirchnockered, but even more, going a little bit further back, I like that you turned into Jimmy from Seinfeld. Todd appreciates it. Todd's not threatened by Joshua's sexuality. Todd's okay. Yeah, I love it. I forget which episode it was, but his name was Jimmy, wasn't it? Y'all watched Seinfeld, or I know James did. Didn't
you? Yeah. The one that George was had a man crush on.
No. What's Lane? No, it was from the gym, the basketball episode where he was wearing the shoes.
Oh, okay.
The one where George caused Jimmy to break his leg or something. But
yeah. Okay, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Jimmy likes these shoes. They work. Anyway, so yeah, HomebrewCon coming up. We're going to have delicious beer at our booth. We're going to be sharing a booth, a whole island, like I've mentioned on other episodes before, 20 by 20 island on our own, where we'll be serving 4 beers. We're going to have CMBecker there, homebrewsupply.com there, and our friends at brewersfriend.com there as well. Lorena Evans, who the show y'all should know, she is a wonderful human being, extremely knowledgeable. She'll ferment anything that she could possibly get her hands on that is fermentable. And she's a wealth of knowledge. She actually wrote a very good, basic, but as comprehensive as you can be at entry-level article for Homebrew Supply on water profiles. I don't know if you've read it before, Todd.
Oh, absolutely. It's very, very good.
Yeah, and building them off RO and all that fun stuff. She's a blast to hang out with too. We got to hang out with her at last year's HomebrewCon, and I think that's when the wheels started turning. Like, hey, how can we hang out with her more? So
yeah.
So
I just want to warn y'all: if I fall over backwards in my seat, I am having a hard time balancing on Josh's ball today. I'm telling you, this thing. I'm a little. I'm not sure that I don't need a real seat in here.
Oh my gosh, you and Joe both. So I'm bouncing on mine as well. For context, because audio listeners, who are the vast majority still, guys, he is sitting on the exercise ball that I use. I just want to get that out of the way. Yes, context is important when Todd's talking about my balls. So moving on.
I said ball, just ball.
Oh, yeah. Well, still, context might still be important. And then the last thing I wanted to bring up, because I know James y'all have all been brewing for more intent than maybe the average brewer would in a year. Like, for instance, James is brewing. He is concocting all the new true to styles that will be coming out over the next few months, or several months rather. I know you're also brewing for HomebrewCon. Do you have any beers you're brewing specifically just for yourself that you want, or are those kind of mingling together coincidentally?
Kind of mingling together. We haven't really decided how much we're going to take. I know last year we took 35 gallons. Is that right? I think that's what it was.
Or a little less.
We took less than that, yeah.
No, we did take 35. We did 2 of each, and then one 5-gallon the New England style IPA that Joe did. He did the grapefruit, 2 kegs of that, and then he did 1 keg of the 35 gallons. That's what we took. Because I did 2 kegs of ESB and 2 kegs of Kolsch. Joe brought 2 kegs of the grapefruit IPA or whatever the name was. I can't remember. And he only had 5 gallons of the New England style IPA, the one that he did.
Yeah.
So we did bring 35 gallons.
All of our beer went quick. I don't remember the amount, and I'm bad at math, but I know it all went quick, and we need more. But so the good news is what you're brewing now, at least you'll have some for yourself. Like, you're not missing out on any brew days right now for beer for your own kegerator.
Oh no, I'm real good about saving myself some.
Well, you're brewing 15 gallons at a time, right?
Absolutely. So, yeah. So we're going to have 2 kegs of the alt beer, and then, whether we might split that, the remainder of that up between Todd and I, that way he can have some, cause he's been wanting alt beer for a long time. It's intimidating beer to brew because it's, you get one little thing wrong, it doesn't taste the same. So
I am anticipating a keg of alt beer at his house, because then speaking of that, our buddy Frank sent in all that beer for us, and one of the ones we didn't open because you weren't there, and
it was amazing.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that, and also bitter at the same time. I just want you to know.
Thank you so much for that, and I sent Frank a instant message. It was one of the best alt beers outside of Dusseldorf I've had. It was really good.
He swore by it, like when he sent it, and I knew of the 3 of us that you would appreciate it probably the most.
It was phenomenally good. It surprised me.
I'm glad to hear that. So me and my pop, when I come up there next week, I'm gonna bring home your Kolsch true to style recipe. We did the IPA. He loves it. We're gonna have that IPA for Easter coming up, as well as he's just enjoying it now. We had 10 gallons of it, but he was like, you know what, we really need a Kolsch, don't we? I said, yes, sir, we do. And so
I think everybody should have a fairly tame beer like that in their draft system. Like, I know Todd, he has a lot of friends, and when they come down, for the most part, a lot of those guys have been turned on to craft beer just by the Kolsch alone.
I agree.
So it's an easy to brew beer. It matures quick. It's easy. It's quick to brew, quick to serve. So it's my number one go-to beer on tap.
It's a gateway beer.
Exactly.
Everybody likes it. People say, "Oh, I don't like those craft beers," and then you give them a glass of that, and they're like, "Oh, that's actually good." And then a guy that's been drinking craft beer his whole life will try one and like it as well. So it is a good all around beer.
Well, and the way that James has been brewing it lately, it's like drinking a cloud. I mean, I love that mouthfeel. I don't know if you're accomplishing that from the yeast or the malt you're using, but the recipe that you have brewed there, that we are now brewing when we buy that recipe kit, it's incredible. It is, when we went to Cologne and had a variety of different ones, yours is honestly easily in my top 1 through 3. Like, it can vary. If I did a blind taste test, it'd be very close to Fru, which Fru just coincidentally happened to be, I think, my favorite one there. It could have been because that's where we started at, and then the night kind of digressed with my memory at least. But
totally understand that. Been there, done that. So.
Been there, yeah. You have just different times. That's right.
Yeah, and you're right, because it's usually the first place we'll hit is Fruth, and then we'll go to Peter's. And then Peter's. Oh,
that's a good beer. Oh.
It is very, very good. But what the thing about it is if that, and I need you, both of y'all, to tell me what you think of that beer. It's had time to complete. It's bright beer now. It's been in there 3 weeks now, maybe closer to 4 weeks. So it's only 4%. So I missed the gravity. I think what I did was I I tried to brew too much. So my volume, I didn't keep with the volume with the recipe. So that's the only reason why it's 4 and not 4.5. But I think it actually made it better. But that's the 4th generation yeast pitch, and that's the max. I dumped the yeast this time, so I'm not going to repitch it.
That's within the ABV style, though.
It is.
Yeah,
it
so
is.
you're
It
good.
is. It has somewhat a different mouthfeel and a little bit different taste, but I think it turned out decent.
Has James ever brewed outside of the style guideline, though? Honestly, I don't.
Yeah.
Have you? Oh,
I'll let him answer that. Yeah.
Never mind. Okay, a different show. Threw him under the bus.
Not meaning to, but I have.
Not meaning. Yeah. I like that answer. That's the story of my life. Not meaning to, but I have.
It's always the goal.
Always the goal. That's right. Okay, so let's get into today's show. I do have a couple of questions. The first one comes from Nick using the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Nick wrote in, "Hey guys, new-ish listener, just lived down the street in the small town of San Antonio." Like your sense of humor, Nick. "Love the show and that you guys also must suffer through the summer brewing season. Anyways, I've been brewing for almost 6 years now, ranging from Mr. Beer kits all the way to 5-gallon all grain for the last 3 years. Just recently, my work has paid off, and I was approached about making one of the recipes for a special event in May. I feel confident in the brew and in kegging that brew, but the big question is transporting the brew. What tips and advice can you guys give me on transporting a keg of homebrew to this event? I plan to keep the keg cold in my keezer till I have to leave, but I'm nervous of foamage or other issues once I get set up. This event is in town here, so no air or long-term driving, but that info may be helpful for future situations. Any tips? Keep up the great work. Maybe I can find you guys in Austin sometime for a homebrew share." Nick, before we take his question, yes, homebrew share. Tell me when and where. We are always open to that. But anyway,
absolutely.
I took this question. He actually submitted this. Usually questions will sit in our bank of questions for many, many weeks because we have a ton. His event is actually coming up soon, like he said, in May, and he just submitted it. And we actually haven't, I don't believe we've ever discussed transporting homebrew. Like, we've discussed dispensing it at a picnic. We've discussed other things that imply that you take it there, but we've never discussed the logistics or maybe hints, tips, tricks, whatever for getting your beer to the event. Todd, I'm going to throw it to you first. You're the equipment guy in my eyes.
Yeah, I want to address another comment that he made about suffering through the summer brewing season. James, I just want to tell you how much I appreciate that new system you're working on for me, because I'll be suffering in the air conditioning.
You're gonna
when
be
I'm
sad.
brewing.
You poor thing.
Yeah. So I think one of the most important things is if you know you're going to be transferring a beer, when you're finishing out that beer, I think it's important to not have a lot of stuff in the beer. So cold crash it, let it settle, and then maybe at that point transfer it over to another vessel. So if you've got it in a keg, you could transfer it to another keg. If you've got it in a secondary, transfer it over to a keg. Being careful not to get it oxidized I always like to purge with CO2 to have some way to keep it from oxidizing. But I think you can let something cold crash and have it settle as long as you want. But if you take it and then you shake it up, it's gonna be a soup again. So you got to make sure the beer's clear to start with. As far as foaming and so forth, it's typically not a problem as long as you've got a little bit of time for the beer to settle before you start serving it. I would say, if you can let it sit for a few hours, and that would help. I think most of the time people think that their beer is foaming because it got shooken up during the transportation. And in reality, the reason it's foaming is because it warmed up. It's a temperature issue. It's not really a shaking up issue. That would be my take, is if you can maintain the temperature and keep it as cold as possible, like maybe transport it where it's actually completely in ice so that you're keeping that temperature down. That's going to help more than anything else you would do.
And James, I don't know if you remember, there was a time I came up there. It was a keg of your alt that you, for whatever reason, didn't want or didn't like.
Yeah, the one I gave you, yeah.
Yeah, you gave me it, and you take it home. And remember, I called you the next day because I was like, man, it is foaming like crazy. What should I do? And that's what y'all said at that time for me as well. I was like, let it, you may want to drink it right now. That sounds like a great idea. Let it sit and cool back down for a day or two, and then give it a try, because between the potential of the shaking, but really the concentration was on temperature. And sure enough, that did work. When you take kegs home from the office to your home, because you live, what is your commute? 20 minutes, give or take?
Yeah, about 20 minutes.
What are you having to wait as well? Or how do you take yours home?
I usually, unless it's a Coles, I'll tap that immediately. But normally I'll put it in the passenger seat and seat belt it in, and just so it doesn't shake as much. But Todd absolutely nailed that question, because I don't have anything else to add to that. That was spot on. Temperature is everything.
I'll tell you one reason I'm convinced that it's not the shaking so much is that I've found lately that I'm trying to get the carbonation level just right on the beer, and I will literally try a beer and say, it's not quite enough carbonation, but I'll have the keg really cold because it's been sitting all night. I'll take it out. You can see me if you're on the video, but you can't audio. I will rock it back and forth for a minute with it on like 40 or 50 PSI and try to get a little bit more carbonation. Put it back in the kegerator, purge the keg, the CO2, put it back to 10 PSI, and pour a perfect beer immediately.
Exactly.
And I am using flow control on my kegerator, but I don't think it's so much the agitation again, is it? I think it's the temperature.
I agree 100%. You got to remember that beer's under pressure. So that's the purpose of a counter pressure bottle filler. If you maintain pressure in that bottle, it won't foam.
Yeah.
So if that was the case, then those bottle fillers wouldn't work as good as they do. So I totally agree. Temperature is everything when it comes to, because that CO2 wants to get out of the liquid, and the warmer it is, the quicker it will. So you keep it cold, you'll be fine.
So, all right, let's take the question, progress it a little. He gets to the event. He has his keg at the temperature it needs to be. It's time to set up and start serving. What's the ideal type of, assuming he doesn't have a kegerator or a full-blown keezer out there, like in jockey bots, I'm assuming that's going to be his best bet of dispensing the beer. Is it smart to keep the keg in ice the whole time? Do you really only have to worry about your coil or cold plate, depending on what type of jockey bots? Like, what other tips can we give him to make sure the event goes as smooth as possible?
Well, I'll say this: an event has never gone poorly because the beer was cold enough, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not. I mean, you can run it through a jockey box. In theory, you could run a warm keg through, if you have enough coil, through a jockey box and still serve a perfect beer. But I've found that I always keep even if I'm using a jockey box, I still keep the keg cold.
I agree.
mean, it just works better. And of course, you can always a lot of times what we do is we just have it in an ice bath, like in a trash can. Now, it's not a trash can I've used for trash before. It's one that I use specifically for kegs. So keep it in, and then we just use a CMB flow control. What's the proper name for that?
The party or event faucet.
Yeah, we used to call it the beer gun, but John Blickman didn't appreciate that, so we changed the name.
John Blickman reached out to you personally, just a little side.
Yeah, he had that name read. Sorry about that again, John. But the event faucet, and
right.
you can put a link to that on the website, Josh. But that works really, really well. Jockey boxes work great as well. I like both of them.
Yeah, at your party, your 50th, which I forget how many years ago that was now because you're getting so old. But that was the way some of your beers were being served, wasn't it? Was just because you didn't have enough room in physical keezers that you had just a line coming, a disconnect on the keg coming to the event faucet. If I'm not
mistaken. we have 10 or 12? How many beers?
We had 6. I want to say 6 or 9. 3 of those was soda. That's what's cool about the party.
Oh, that's right. Some of them are soda.
Because you can use that for beer and also soda.
Oh, we had a lot more beers than that, but you're saying we had like 6 just using the.
Yeah.
Because remember, we had 2 kegerators.
Two kegerators. Well, we have 2 kegerators and did how many beer? We did a lot.
They were
I
3
can't even remember.
faucets each.
Yeah.
I think it was 10 or 12 beers.
Right.
It was a lot of damn beer, and
Yeah.
a lot of it got consumed that night.
I got driven to my hotel room. It was that kind of night. I was chauffeured. It was a blast. You need to turn 50 more often. Speaking of that, James, wait, when is yours?
We don't want to talk about that.
We could have a James 50th party.
This year, actually. This year.
I like it. I like it.
I do too. Let's throw him a big party.
I'll go to bed early that night.
Let's make him brew his own beer for his party.
That is a true Todd Burns move. I love it. Thank you, Nick, for submitting the question. And again, it was in our best interest to tell him how to transport beer so that he can come to Austin and share his beer. So thank you, Nick, again for listening and submitting the question. Question number 2 comes from Linda, who also used the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Linda wrote in, my boyfriend and I started homebrewing a few months ago, and have gotten to the point where we want to keg our beer instead of bottling. Good choice. We don't have any equipment or refrigerators yet, so my question is, what would you say is the ideal beginner setup for people like us? If it helps, we do have a lot of space that can accommodate most sizes of fridges. We hope you can help, Linda. So again, like I kind of just muttered there, excellent choice, Linda. I think you'll find you'll be able to enjoy your beer more from a draft system than bottling, waiting for the priming sugar to do its carbonation job, cold conditioning, bottle conditioning, whatever, and then drinking it. You just keg and force carb and go. But I put the word ideal in air quotes here because it's such an open-ended question. I knew we'd have fun with this because there is, in my opinion, Todd, correct me if I'm wrong, there is no ideal setup, is there?
I mean, it really depends on the person and what they're going to do. I mean, I will say that I think there's 2 main systems that you want to consider. There's really 3, but I think let's start with the absolute simplest first, and then go from there to kind of a little bit more advanced. You could literally just get a very basic kegging kit. And I'm actually doing a quick check here because I don't want to say the wrong amount, but I know that right now it's on sale. It's normally $74.95 for a 1 faucet basic homebrew kegging kit. The only thing that doesn't have is a CO2 cylinder because we never know if people want to buy that some people get that locally because they don't refill anyway. And some people buy it from us, and we have nice cylinders. But even with that, for around $100, you can have everything, including the cylinder, in the low hundreds range, and have everything you need to dispense that beer. You could put it in a fridge and then have a party faucet where you're pouring. But I mean that's a good way. And then if you want to go ahead and make a kegerator later, all you have to do is pull the party faucet off and put a shank assembly with a faucet on it, and you're ready to go. If it was me personally, I would just go straight to the shank system. I would find an old refrigerator, or it could be a new refrigerator, but some sort of a stand-up refrigerator, just the typical one that has the freezer on the top, the fridge on the bottom. You drill a hole through it, stick the shank through it, screw the screw down, and you're really ready to go. I mean, it's very, very quick and easy to use. So, and those are not terribly expensive. You can pretty much get everything you need, keg, CO2 kit, in the low $200 range as well. So, and then the third option would be a keezer. A lot of people do a keezer, which is a freezer box that typically has a wooden frame around it. And the wooden frame is like a 2x6, 2x8, whatever you decide on. And you drill a hole through that because you don't want to start drilling holes in the sides of keezers because you're going to hit a cooling line if you're not careful. So anyway, that's the third option. I think that's a great option, but it's a little more complicated. It's not going to be near as easy as the other 2. Where you find brand new people will use that option is when they literally have an old chest freezer sitting at their house and it's already paid for. So it makes sense to do it then.
Or Craigslist, right? I know, and maybe it's because I live in the Central Texas area, closer to Austin and also near San Antonio-ish. I find on Craigslist a ton of, like, they would hold, 3 5-gallon kegs in it, and in the $80 range, right? Like used. Now Craigslist buying, buyer beware. Obviously, you're not guaranteed something like new. But even then, sometimes I'll see on Best Buy or where did y'all got? Was it from Home Depot, that latest one that's at the bottom of the stairs in the warehouse?
Yeah. I think we just ordered it online and it was delivered. I don't remember if it was delivered here to the store, probably to the store. I can't remember now. But anyway, again, it is, you can find chest freezers on those places. I think it's a lot more common to find the full stand-up fridge because people replace those constantly. They want a newer model, and so you see a lot more of those in the marketplace in general. So,
and
sure, and another option would be to holler at Lowe's or Home Depot, because they have people that they pay to go pick up or take away appliances, and they may have good appliances that they just wanted to replace, and they don't want to mess with getting rid of it. So I know in my case, I had to get a fridge last year, and they picked mine up, and there was a whole bunch of not really nice used equipment in that truck. So maybe they have that might be a good source for cheap.
That is a great idea. And Todd, your whole answer kind of reminded me or inspired me to say that it does depend on your goals and your budget and really your determination. Because like a guy like James I imagine your ingenuity is nothing new. I've known you for 3 or 4 years now, and you've always been the engineering type to MacGyver, I believe.
MacGyver, yeah. Try to. Sometimes it doesn't work.
I can't say your hashtag on air without having to use the bleep button. But we're family friendly. I mean, don't drink unless you're 21, but we're family friendly. But anyway, James, I imagine in the early days wouldn't have minded buying a used chest freezer, doing all the DIY work, drilling out the holes, learning the process, installing the chainsaw, that where I'm very open and transparent about myself, and Todd will back this up. I have a turnkey solution in my office and at my dad's house where it was a mini fridge that, it was pre-drilled, and you put the tower on and you bolt it, and look at me, I'm doing something. And then you plug it in, and hey, you have a kegerator now. Like, it all depends. Like if you have that ingenuity or do it yourself or Bob Villa, this old house type of fire in you, the sky is the limit. And there are some very affordable budget type items. And even then, if you're like me, kegerators are not extremely expensive. In my opinion, for a brewer, a draft system is the best investment you can have, or in regards to the dispensing side of things. It saves you time, it saves you headaches, and you'll find yourself sharing your craft a lot more with a good, proper draft system. I will ask this though too, Todd. Do you think it's worth people who get in to future-proof themselves with what they buy? Like, if she finds a chest freezer, is it good to find the bigger the better? Even if like, I'm going to buy a 2-faucet fridge kit today because that's all I have now, but maybe we need the space in the future if we decide to do 3 or 4.
Well, I mean, yeah, if you can, but I mean, if you're putting it in your house, you probably don't want this ginormous, chest freezer in there. If you've got a basement and all the room in the world, then by all means buy the biggest one you can, because you're going to want to cold crash and do all kinds of other things with it later.
You're right. So, and really the only true future proofing is just turning your walk-in closet into a storage room for your beer, and then drilling holes as you need them through the wall, right? That's the ultimate future.
Well, what I would say for future proofing is when you're buying that initial kit, even if you buy the least expensive one, the 1 keg basic, buy a good one. Our kits come with taprite regulators. The taprite regulator is going to last you forever. I mean, you may have a problem with it 10 years down the road, and you can get a rebuild kit and rebuild it, and it's as good as new again. All the components that, we've got the CMB German-made disconnects. I mean, all of these, if you're going to buy it, make sure you get good components. Don't get something, don't get something that has an inexpensive Chinese regulator that's literally going to stop working 6 months into owning it. So
I love that you and James are in the business of selling things that don't go obsolete. And I'm only saying, like, y'all talk yourselves out of sales. James did that one with that tap room where, like, they were ready to buy new faucets. And he was like, no. Trust me. I know these faucets. Yeah. Just buy these, like, 30 cents. It wasn't 30 cents, but they saved literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars because James is a good person. And Todd.
Well, if you go to Colorado, stop by Great Divide, their tap room. There's 2 locations in Denver. And you get to experience really good beer served out of really good faucets.
You know, that is a great way to wrap up this question. Is that we've asked it before when people have written in upgrades, but it's worth bringing up since we're on the topic. Would you say the way you dispense the tap, the faucet, would be the one area of focusing if you could upgrade on your first draft dispense kit, Todd?
Yeah, I think you want a really good regulator and you want a really good faucet. The faucet, a flow control faucet, if you can afford one, it will make your life easier from that point forward.
And what kind of flow control? I'm blanking on brands.
The only one I know is CMBecker.
I was waiting for James to come in. I like.
And we have options for everybody. We've got a economical flow control, all the way up to something that'll serve a football stadium.
Yeah, the X1 is an excellent flow control faucet. I mean, it's very affordable and it's just bulletproof. I mean, it will give it's one of the best faucets we have. In fact, you're coming out with the stainless version of that very soon as well. So that's kind of exciting.
Yep. And if you're interested in seeing how those faucets perform, there's a major chain that uses those exclusively, Twin Peaks. So if there's a Twin Peaks in your area and you see the faucets that they use to dispense their draft system, that's our X1 faucet. It's a flow control.
I'm not laughing that Twin Peaks uses it as much as just like I just every time I'm a child. I'm sorry, I'm immature. When I hear I was just thinking like I was going to do an ad bumper like for family style dining, go to Twin Peaks, CMBecker faucet, but I have never been to a Twin Peaks. Not a moral thing at all. I just am cheap and I hear that they're expensive. I haven't been to a Hooters in forever either because their wings aren't that great. But no. But yeah, Twin Peaks exclusively uses those. I was going to say they're all the X1 is also obviously really good for multiple applications because our friend Heidi, if you watch her Instagram over at West Coast Witches Brewing, she uses an X1 on her setup, right, James?
I think it's an X2. I think she's using an X2.
Pardon me, because the X1 is
flow
control.
So it's the same faucet minus flow control, but she is proud of it.
Yeah,
and she displays it on her posts frequently.
And tagged CMBecker.
Yes, she does. She's great. She's a big fan.
Yeah.
And we're a big fan of hers too.
Definitely. That calendar in the back there of your office, that was all her doing. But yes. Anyway, thank you, Linda, so much for submitting the question. Guys, thank you for your time coming on the show this week. I greatly appreciate it. I am looking forward to seeing y'all next week. We, without divulging too much information, Todd and I are going to be working on a ton of new video content for the website, for our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/homebrew happy hour. We have a lot of other articles and other content coming down the pipeline, and I'm really excited, guys. So I will see y'all soon.
Bye.
See ya.
And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, you can visit homebrewhappyhour.com and then click on the Submit a Question link at the top of the page, or you can call or text in your messages by dialing or using 325-305-6107. Thank you to our show sponsor, Kegconnection.com, for supporting our podcast and the homebrewing community. Go to kegconnection.com, use the promo code HHH, and you'll receive 5% off your order. On behalf of Todd Burns, James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thank you for listening.